Hello, everybody, and welcome to a short discussion about what's been topic A around Woodstock and our surrounding communities for some time now, the question of whether to build a new high school and middle school for our communities. I'm Bob Hager, proud to be a Woodstock native and alumni of Woodstock High School. And the group that we've assembled has some students, some alumni, some parents. We've got a teacher, so we hope you'll stay with us to hear more about this. This is not a debate. We're all for the school, although we made up our minds at various times. We're all for the new school. But this is meant to be illuminating, we hope. And the most important thing is that the vote is coming up on Tuesday, March 5th. So that's for Woodstock, it's for Barnard, for Pomfret, for Reading, Bridgewater, Plymouth, and Killington. You all have a chance to vote, and we hope that you will vote yes for our school. So now let's introduce who we've got with us right now. Let's start over here.
Hi, my name is Ada Mahood. I'm a junior, and I go to school at the Woodstock Union High School.
And Dennis?
I'm Dennis Wright, a native of Woodstock and a retired school teacher.
And I'm Bowie Williamson. I'm an alum of the high school and the elementary school and have two children in the school system today.
So let's start with Ada. Since you're in school, why do you think this would be a good idea to have a new high school?
I think that having a new high school would give our school a lot of opportunities that it doesn't have currently for oncoming courses, bigger classrooms. We have a lot of heating and cooling problems at our school, which can be hard and disrupting to people's learning. I think that some other important things like our cafeteria is not really welcoming and inviting, and I actually haven't eaten in the cafeteria personally in like 2 years because it's not welcoming and inviting, and it's built out of cinder blocks, and it's just not really an inviting place where you want to go eat food. So
you said have you experienced any of those temperature fluctuations? You said
absolutely, absolutely.
Really?
You have to wear like 5 layers to school, and in each classroom it really depends. Like you either have like a big coat on because it's super cold, or you have like a t-shirt on because it's like 90 degrees.
Oh my God. So Dennis, you went to school here quite a while ago, like myself. We go back.
Mm-hmm. And the school I began at was the elementary school right in town, and that needed to be torn down, demolished, and was. We moved to the high school, and 67 years later, it's in kind of tough shape. And when I began teaching, I taught in a one-room school where I was the custodian. And I know, having done that it's hard to keep up. But this school, people have done the best they can. It's just decaying. That's all. It may look nice from the outside, but things are falling apart. It's time to have a new school.
Didn't you, back when you were a student, you helped do maintenance around what was then this new school?
Yeah, and in 1957,
yeah,
I started working as a student custodian, and then in the summers was on the maintenance team for 44 hours a week, and all the way through high school, all the way through college, and 2 years of teaching. I came back every summer, so we tried our best to keep up. And good maintenance people, it's just not enough. I mean, we finally had to give up. And the high school has run into that same problem all these years later.
Oh, my gosh. Bowie now, so it's going to raise our taxes. I mean, there's no getting around it, but why do you think it's worth it?
Yeah, well, I went to school here. I love the community. It's a reason I brought my kids and my family back to be a part of this community and be a part of the school, which I think is core to the community. You know, I was skeptical, very skeptical of the proposal when I first heard about it, and very critical of it. And I went to a lot of the meetings. I talked to a lot of folks, and I looked at the financial calculator. You know, I think the school does provide a great education still to the kids in the community, and I'm really proud of the school. But I do believe it's time for a new school. You know, for two most important reasons. One being the community, to maintain the community and to grow the community. And also, I think financially, it ultimately does make sense for the town and the community. You know,
that's interesting that you said you were initially somewhat skeptical, because I went through that too a couple of years ago when it first came up. We've been talking about this for 6 or 8 years now, but I was skeptical, and then I went to the sessions out there at the school where they show you the facilities and all.
Absolutely.
I could see how the furnace was in bad shape and all that. And,
Yeah. Well, I think, one of the things is there's a financial calculator out there that I think is really helpful. It's something I think, I would love to take people through if they are skeptical. It's maybe not the easiest thing for some folks, but it really helps to illustrate, how the current school is a liability, I think. And I think the new school could be a tremendous asset for our community. I think initially there are some, real tax burdens on people, and I think that can, be difficult for a lot of folks, and I greatly appreciate that.
Sure.
But I think in the long term, the school will be an asset for the community, can actually flip that tax burden and, ultimately reduce the tax burden as we look at the long term. And I think there's a lot of short-term potential, that, in the model isn't always reflected, but, in terms of attracting more students to the area is one of the biggest ways to decrease the tax burden. I think there's a lot of fundraising going on, and I think that could be tremendous. I think the new school could be an asset in terms of generating income. And, I think it makes sense in the long term. I think the short term, we do have to come together as a community and I don't want to lose anyone in the community as a result of the burden from the bond. But I think there are resources there, and it's an opportunity for the community to come together and create a wonderful asset.
So Ada, I wonder, as a student, besides yourself, do you think other students have experienced some of these shortcomings that you're talking about? I mean, you talked about cafeteria being unpleasant and and the heat.
Yes, I've definitely talked to a lot of people about the heating and the cafeterias and just the sort of community that has been built in our school. And I do think that a lot of people are a lot of the students there are very much for building a new school because of all of the problems that we have had, with the heating system. We had that whole system that was put in last year, and there were just constantly workers and big machinery going in and out of our school, which was there's the Band-Aid that they said they was going to put on our school, and it clearly has not worked very well as they hoped it would, and it also was just a disruption to our learning, having those workers be in and out. They were on big ladders, they had all their lights set up in our hall, and in the main hallway where we walked every day. So I do think it was a bit of an unfortunate disruption to some people's learning.
I think there was a time when they actually had to close down some classrooms for a short while.
Yes. Yep. Mm-hmm. So
put them out of commission for a while.
Yeah.
While they had to repair things.
Yeah. I mean, and they were even repairing things while classes were going on, and that was really hard because you'd have all of these big worker men with all their piping and just coming in and repairing things while you were in the middle of learning algebra.
Wow.
And it was
okay.
Not super.
Okay, well, so we should move with Dennis. Do you have any?
Well, just to play along with Booty's, piggyback with that, if we an experience that happened to me in the school I taught in for 30 years, they tried to pass the bond. I was on the building committee, and we worked hard like everyone has here, and it lost by one vote. One. And what happened was it never came close again. And the renovations that took place, instead of building the new building, was 24% more than building the new building when it was all done. And it still wasn't right. I stayed in there 11 years, and the heating system, like Ada said, didn't perform properly, and a lot of the windows, and still it was, get this, 24%. It went, in those days, it was $14 million to build the new school. It cost $17 million to repair the old one, and still wasn't right.
Yeah,
So,
I've heard there's some guessing that maybe it costs another $5 million or something every year that we wait and don't do this every year that we delay. Well, we got more people to come, so we'll take a short cut editorially and be right back with a new panel. Okay, so we're back with a new group, and I'll let them introduce themselves. So we'll start over here.
Hi, yes, I'm Jess Stout. I live in Woodstock, work at the elementary school in town, and I'm the parent to Jane and a 10-year-old.
And you are Jane.
Yes, I'm Jane Stout. I'm also a junior like Ada at the Woodstock High School.
And I'm Keller Murphy, and I'm in 7th grade and at the middle school and high school.
Okay, so let's start with our high school student. Jane, tell me your own experience at the high school. And are there some reasons that you think that have affected you in that have to do with the aging of the school?
Yeah, so I want to start by saying that I think the teaching and the community has really shaped my learning experience in positive ways. I'm super grateful for all that is offered through our great teachers and our programs. And I hope for the new generations that the school also matches that level of excellence that the school provides. So yeah, the school, like Ada said before, I've experienced many issues. So whether it's heating, we have had water issues, constant construction, and then just like inadequate systems for both athletics and our academics that I wish could meet some of the standards of, that Woodstock strives to be.
Can you describe? You mentioned about heating issues or
Yeah.
or is it cooling issues? I don't know.
Both. So the heating has been a really big issue. And we've tried to fix that by renovating it. I think it was just last year. But it hasn't been much of an improvement. It's some classes are very cold, and they tell you, we've had administration tell us to bring our jackets and our hats and our gloves to school so we don't get too cold, and even then it is too cold. And then you walk out into your next class and, like, for example, my one of my English classes, we measured 87 degrees in that classroom.
That's pretty hot.
Yeah.
87.
Yeah.
Whoa.
And you're doing this, you're trying to, take tests or learn or lectures, and it's been, definitely it's affected just both learning and social aspects.
And there was a state education department that came and examined the school, and I think they ranked it. They said there were 2 schools that were the worst in the whole state.
Yep.
I mean, that were in the biggest need of repair.
Yeah.
So as a mom, Jess, what can you add to this, and why do you think it's important?
Yeah, well, as a mom, you care about your child's health and safety and their educational, thriving, and I feel like all of those have been areas of concern for me as a parent.
I should mention she's got two kids, and besides your daughter, you have one other that coming up.
I
right?
do. So the new build would not benefit Jane, but I know she feels motivated to try to make things better for those who are following in her footsteps. So yes, it's been concerning. As a parent, I think you naturally want your children to have what you had or better in their life compared to your own. And it's been frustrating for me to see that. I feel like she's had, in many ways, sort of a worse high school experience, just buildings and facilities wise, certainly. I mean, teaching has been great, and I echo Jane and our gratitude towards the teaching staff there. But the facility does not match that standard of excellence that they strive and overcome a lot to provide every day. So yes, I've heard it's been a steady drumbeat of stories since she entered the school. Wow. The temperature issues, the plumbing issues, the constant construction. I was in the other week, and there was a sort of constant, sounded like a jackhammer. I don't know what it was, but I was like, is this normal? And the person I was meeting with was like, yes, it's every single day. I hear that. And Jane's like, yes, that's the background to my chemistry class. Yep. So I honestly don't know how they do it. I don't think many people in this town would probably stand for a living situation like that. To spend there 7 hours a day and day in and day out. It's tough.
So Keller Murphy, you're in the 7th grade.
Yep.
And that part of the school was built a little later than the high school and all. Have you experienced any problems there?
Well, so the bathroom is usually kind of a big problem there. There's a heater at, well,
Bathroom meaning
The
it backs up?
just the other day, like the day before school got out, it was like clogged or something like that.
Whoa.
I don't know. It was like flooding or something like that. I don't know. And there's a heater in like every single classroom, and they're sometimes really loud. It's kind of hard to like work like that. My art teacher said like she's losing her hearing because like the sound of the heater.
So there's a heater in the classrooms besides the normal furnace heat of the building. Wow. And you said the same thing for...
And they're all different. They're all, the classrooms, they have like different systems and they all are loud and don't work.
Okay, I think we move to our next panel, so we'll take a short editorial break, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So our next group, I'll let you introduce yourselves, so we'll start right here.
I'm Brenda Byrne. We live in South Woodstock. I have 3 children in the district, a 6th grader, an 8th grader, and a 9th grader. And I have been a substitute teacher in the district for, I think this is my 7th year.
I'm Ben Brickner. I'm a Pomfret resident and parent of a 4-year-old.
Josh.
I'm Josh Byrne. I'm a freshman at the high school. And
Okay, so we'll start with the teacher, because a substitute teacher, but we haven't had a teacher yet. So tell us, have you experienced any problems firsthand? Or?
As a sub, I guess it's kind of nice. I get to go in a lot of different classrooms in a lot of the different schools. It's a lot of the same stuff that a lot of the other people have been mentioning. I make sure to use the student bathrooms when I'm there, and there's always at least 1 or 2 stalls that are out of order. One time I showed up to sub, and the classroom I was supposed to be in was flooded.
Whoa.
And this was actually before some of the major flooding we had, so I don't know why that happened. But anyway, so we had to move classrooms. Things like that. The ventilation is not great. My 8th grader came home one day and said he spent 15 minutes waiting outside of his class because sewage was backing up into the sink.
Oh, disgusting.
Which was gross. And they lost learning time because of the time they had to spend out in the hallway. Almost every classroom I go in the middle school, high school, it's like something will fall if I go to move something, and kids are like, oh, that happens all the time, or oh, then you just have to kind of rig this up like this, and it's always just shocked to me that we allow that, because as others have said, the teachers are wonderful, the education that they're getting is fantastic, and as a sub, I always worried about coming into the middle high school because I hadn't been in there until Josh went to the 7th grade. And you just never know what to expect. But the kids are lovely for the most part. They're polite. It's like a great environment of students and teachers. But the building is just unfortunate.
Oh, that's too bad. Ben, I know that schools were an important reason why you moved here, right?
That's right. I moved here with my wife in 2018. Our daughter came once we were here, and we chose Woodstock primarily for the school system. We recognized Woodstock as a community that values education, had a great academic program, and that is why we're here.
And why is it? Were you ever on the fence about this issue, or were you?
I was like some others. I was initially a skeptic, but
Yeah.
I was very impressed by the work that the board and others have put into this. It is a very well thought out plan. They've been responsive to feedback they've received. They've done a tremendous amount of due diligence, and I think in the long run, building now will cost us less, potentially a lot less than waiting to build later.
Yeah, I say it could cost what, $5 million a year or more,
Well, not to mention the continued upkeep of a building that is very clearly not serving our
Sure.
students today.
Yeah, no, that's too bad. And Josh, who is Brenda's oldest son, you're a freshman, and what can you tell us about conditions at the school?
I guess I know, like, I've seen over the past few years I've been here, a lot of, I agree with the other students about the heating, cooling issues, different classes varying often and being kind of uncomfortable. If I remember correctly, there was like a gas leak a few months ago, and one of my teachers had to take a break for a second because he just couldn't even think with the fumes.
Wow.
I notice often so far every year, it wasn't like this in elementary school, every year since 7th grade, I am fine in the summer. I go into school and my health feels worse. I don't know if that's something with the ventilation or something, but at least I've felt that. I've seen like different classrooms have flooded or had, like Mom said, sewage issues or things like that, and a lot of issues with construction and kind of putting little fixes on things that will just break next week.
Any final thoughts?
Vote yes.
Okay. We also have some comment from out of the studio from somebody who couldn't be with us here, but a current teacher.
Hi, my name is Sarah Haga, and I'm an English teacher at Woodstock High School, and I'm also a resident of Plymouth. And I just wanted to share with you a little bit about why I support the new school bills. In the past couple of years as a teacher, I've experienced some challenges with the heating in the building. Last year, there were days where the temperature reached close to 85 degrees in my classroom, and students are pretty lethargic and reluctant to learn when we're dealing with such temperatures, so I would need to open almost all the windows in my classroom, which felt horribly inefficient. I also have been in classrooms across the hall where ceiling tiles have collapsed and broken because of water rushing into the classroom, in one case onto a printer. And we've had issues with hot water in the building, plumbing, septic systems, and the custodial staff in the buildings and grounds do a fantastic job. They're running around, they're working really hard, and they are repairing as we go, and we kind of move on and life resumes. But it's very clear to me that it's not going to get any better, and the major systems are failing. The building has just outlived its life. And it's time, even though it's very difficult, to think about a new, modern, energy-efficient structure.
And here's an out-of-studio comment from another current teacher.
Hi there. My name is Heather Veneta, and I've been teaching at Woodstock Union High School for, this is going to be my 20th year. I have seen this wonderful place grow and be full of students and faculty and staff who truly care about each other. And also over the years, I've also watched the building go from a place where there didn't seem to be too many problems to recently a lot of problems. And I wanted to tell you about how that affects our teaching. So a few years ago, I was in my classroom teaching a class, and all of a sudden a student said, Miss Veneta, the ceiling is leaking. And we all look up, and there is the ceiling, and it is leaking. And it started out with just a couple of drips, and within a matter of minutes, it was gushing water. And I was like, quick, get buckets. We need to get buckets. And so my class for that entire day, we had to be moved from my classroom because my classroom got not significantly flooded, but enough where we had to move my classroom out for the day. Another experience we've had recently is that the fire alarms keep going off. And sadly, it's one of those things where you're in the middle of teaching and you hear the fire alarm go off and you have to evacuate the building. It takes about 15 minutes to figure out what's going on. And then by the time you come back, you've missed class already, pretty much. And that happened in 1 week 4 times. The other problem is that we know that our septic system isn't so great, and the running joke is it's all we need is one flush, and it could get the whole system gone. And so my joke, even though it's not really that funny, is that if I'm not going to be the one flush, so I just don't flush the toilet anymore, because I don't want to be the one who the septic system goes because of my flush. Other instances is every week it's like something new. You walk into the building and you're like, what is that smell? And we find out there's an oil leak of somehow. We've had some septic problems besides other things. And it's really disheartening to walk in and never know exactly what you're gonna get, because you're not gonna get a building that is fully functional all the time. We've had heating issues, and even though the heating has been fixed, it was really, really, really hard to like not have heat in your classroom in the middle of winter, or the heat was blowing so much in the early spring, which made it so hot in the classrooms, and even with the windows open, you had so much heat coming in that it was really hard. Other instances is just last week, we had a teacher walk in and, again, ceiling leaking, water coming into our classroom, and our custodians do work so hard, but it's nonstop drilling and banging and all sorts of other things in our building. And I understand how expensive a new building is, but I also know what it's like to teach in a building where you're constantly interrupted. And it's really hard to teach when there's, when your ceiling's leaking, when there's some crazy smells, when it's too hot, when it's too cold, when you have fear of the septic going. It's just really, really hard. I'm also a parent of 2 children who live in Heartland, and I hope someday, because we have free choice or school choice, that we can send our kids to a new high school in Woodstock, because I feel like not just like all children in this area really deserve a place where they can learn without interruption. And we have a wonderful community, our faculty, our staff, our students, our parents, everyone is always so supportive and so wonderful. I always tell people I teach in a bubble because everything is just so great at Woodstock, except for the building. And we really, really need help. And this is our chance to all come together and build something great that will last a long, long time. So I urge you all to please vote yes to a new building, because we really, really need one. Thanks so much.
So we're back here again, and here's everybody that was with us for this past discussion. And I'd like to thank Seton McElroy and Carolyn Barnwell for their organization of this session. It's been good to be with you, and we're all together. Remember now, the voting day is Tuesday, March 5th, so come out and everybody
vote yes!
Thank you.